obviously I went to Astana. As you guys know, I was super nervous about flying to Astana. I'm a nervous flyer in general, but I was pretty nervous about this one because it looked like, we might be going over Russian airspace a little bit. And obviously as well, I was kind of a bit apprehensive about whether or not people might view it as a political statement. Obviously Kazakhstan aren't anything to do with any of the stuff. But unfortunately, not everyone sees it that way. And there were some people that tried to make intimations. It wasn't a particularly loud voice, but there were some there. And there were some after. There was some fake news that I got sent saying that it was the ticket allocation was all secretly organized by Russian people. It just wasn't true. So anyway, I was a little bit nervous about people being weird about the event, but anyway, whatever. So when I do these reviews, we talk a little bit about the tournament, and we talk a little bit about my experiences that I had at the tournament. First, right out the gate, I had a very great time. I mean, in terms of events being stressful, this was not one of them. This event was perfect. It's everything you could want from an event as a worker in esports. Why? Because the event for the first part was in the hotel, and we went out there, and the hotel was really good, massive, 5-star Hilton, and big breakfast buffet every morning. So the routine was super easy. Pre-show, you get up, you head down about 7 o'clock. You help yourself to 3 plates of insane breakfast. I mean, it was really, really good gear. Bunch of coffee, and then you just literally walk down a flight of stairs and you're in work, right? And that was that. And it needed to be like that because I don't think people really appreciate like how much the fucking PGL crew put into this event. It was very intense. Like, for context, because of how Kazakhstan importing laws work, a lot of the equipment went 2 months in advance and had to be like shipped and then held and then cleared by shipping. So it had to all be planned 2 months in advance, shipped 2 months in advance. And then when the guys got out there a week or two in advance, they had to go through, make sure everything was there, it had all passed muster. Then they had to set it up. And then when we moved from the hotel to the stadium, they had 1 day turnaround to get everything that we were using in the hotel into the stadium and set up. It was a 1-day deal. For context, when we did it in Cluj, we had 2 days. So the crew were basically sleeping in the fucking stadium, in the hockey arena. And they really, really worked super hard on it. And I think, credit to them, because everyone loves to fucking shit on PGL. We all know how fashionable that is. Even though ESL, by the way, we just had Dallas. Anyone notice all the tech Simple's return? 5 tech pauses, yeah? Were any threads about that? Oh, yeah, but they were mysteriously downvoted. Weird how that works. But everyone wants to shit on PGL. And so anyway, like, the crew did like a massive undertaking, and there was barely any tech problems at all over the whole event. And I think overall, it's a very solid level of production as well. Again, watching Dallas, they're not beating the allegations about ESL making cutbacks behind the scenes, are they? Weird camera choice, just zoom in on someone's face. Looks like one digital camera, like zipping around, shaking. Like, I don't want to see people's zits. Fine, I guess. But anyway, so everyone loves to shit on PGL, but people don't fucking understand what they did out there. And there was criticism, and it's always valid, right? There was criticism about, like, sometimes the stream quality on Twitch, like, artifacted and stuff like that. Well, just for context as well, one of the days we were doing the show, a bulldozer just cut through a fucking internet line on one of the providers. Just gone. It was an internet outage in the whole area. If you were on that ISP, you were fucked. And the way that PGL had done it was they did like a bunch of fucking... They had a bunch of ISP setups and backup stuff set up. But you have to understand as well, there's always going to be limitations when you go to a country that doesn't necessarily have the greatest infrastructure. And I have to say, I was very pleasantly surprised by Astana as a city. I made this point on the Four Horsemen podcast at the start, but I'll say it again here. Like, that Borat movie set Kazakhstan back fucking decades in terms of public perception. Because when I got there, this is the experience I had. Me and the boys would go in to restaurants on a night. The restaurants were fucking fire. The food was fucking great. Cocktail bars. We were getting driven around by private fucking, like, you know, just Uber limo drivers, you know, guys who just, like, looked like they were in the fucking, you know, military, just come and just drive you around, fucking sick. We found, like, this insane bar. This was one of Maui Snake's bougie cocktail bar choices. And I won't say the name just in case of the bar, but it was a really good place, and if Maui wants to shout it out, he can. But we basically went to this bar where it was all dark, all candles, and the guy comes out and says, listen, tell me how you want to feel, tell me what you want to taste, you know, like, and I'll make a special bespoke cocktail to you. So all the guys were throwing out dumb shit like, oh, I like fucking, you know, the smell of mowed grass and all this stuff. Whatever you wanted, they would make it for you, and they would come and they would tell you how they did it and da-da-da-da-da. And so we were in there, and we had some really cool nights. It's some very, like, hipster, upbeat kind of bars and stuff, and the restaurants were great, and the food was great, and the horse meat was great. The first thing the driver said to us when we got picked up from the airport, because we were fucking driving past all of these signs announcing the Central Asian Games, and there was basically, they were advertising all the events, and one of the events is horseback wrestling. Right, which is mental. You just cling on with your thighs like that and wrestle another man off a horse. What a absolute baller fucking sport that is. So we were talking about that, and the guy heard us say horse, and he turned around and said, oh, you must try the horse meat. And I was like, eh. Now, Blair had just got back from that event in Mongolia, so he was fully horsed up. He's fucking horsed up to the gills. And we said to the driver, we said, like, yo, he's just been to Mongolia, so, like, is your horse meat better than the Mongolian horse meat? He's like, pretenders. Pretenders in Mongolia, he said. Pretenders. Our horse meat, loads better. And so me and Maui and a few of the boys, you get these, like, loose horse meat tacos. You get horse tacos. He had a big fuck-off horse steak. It all came out. So it was great. And so the food was cool. Culture cool. Fans were amazing, I have to say. I already put a video out about this on my Patreon. If you're a Patreon subscriber, you've already seen it probably. But what we had was, there was a group of fans outside of the hotel. And what they'd done is they camped down by the bottom of the hotel. And every day, when the player coaches were coming up with the tinted glasses, the fans would run up, and they would be like, oh, who is it? You know, and I mean, the level that they had was just insane in terms of, like, their desire to want to see all of the players. And they really did. I mean, like, for context, when there was a queue to get Crimbo's autograph. Like, that wouldn't even happen in Germany. That wouldn't happen in Crimbo's house. There was a queue to get Crimbo to sign people's mouse mats and stuff. I was like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Crimbo? Are you fucking serious? But yeah, they did. And so anyway, the fans were, like, camped outside of the hotel the entire time. And so every time we were kind of coming out, we were all a little bit like, fucking hell, there's a lot of fans down there. Guess what? They don't watch us. We're the English-speaking talent. They don't watch us. They watch all the Russian-speaking talent. So we were fine. I was, like, walking to and from the mall. I went to the mall one day. I told this story on the broadcast, so some of you will have already heard it. But I had the PGL lanyard round my neck. Went to this. They had this massive mall right next to the hotel. I mean, massive, like American massive mall. And because it said PGL, 3 kids came up and they went, do you know Donk? I was like, yeah, sort of, yeah. And they were like, oh, wow, okay. What's he like? Very good at shooting heads. Oh, right, yeah, cool. But they didn't know who I was at all. They just assumed I was, like, a member of the crew. I did get recognized a few times. We had a guy up in the stands shout at me, yo, Richard, how's my fucking milk taste today, dickhead? Blair was laughing because every time someone does that, it really is a total erasure of 20 years of journalism, isn't it? If I'm only remembered for that, but it's fine. So, you know, got recognised by a few fans in Kazakhstan, which was very surprising. But for the most part, we could walk around, you know, unaccosted, uninterfered. And I have to say, the fans were really cool in terms of understanding, like, the threshold. They totally understood the threshold. Yes, every time they would run up to they really wanted to see people. But there was never any like cajoling or pushing. It was always, they get around the van and then they say, oh, will you sign this? Could you do this? Would you sign that? Thank you for coming. Will you come back? Did you like Astana? It was like, at no point did I feel like it was dangerous or obtrusive not obtrusive, intrusive. It was fine. It was like a really positive experience, as I said. And it was funny because each day there was more and more fans, and so the hotel was putting on more and more security. So like day one, it was just the dudes that worked in the hotel in the jackets. Day two, it was some bigger dudes with bigger jackets. Day three, there was some armed guards, right? Like now they're packing. You can see they've got the strap, they're carrying that thing on them. And then the next day, the police are there working in conjunction with the private security. And then on the last day, they set up this insane like demarcation of like cones and like a barrier, like a line that the fans could not cross. Because a couple of kids had burst into the hotel when no one was looking. There was a little bit of that. We saw, and me and Blair were having like a couple of Bloody Marys or whatever in the bar, just working through a hangover, as is our way in the afternoon. And he said, like, look, and these kids were like, running around desperately trying to see someone. And the only people they got was me and Blair. But they were very grateful that we signed their things, So the fans were great. Equally as well, when we made it over to the stadium, probably the most secure event I've ever been at. Ever. There was a guard probably every 100 meters in the building. And that's not an exaggeration. If anything, that's playing it down. Everywhere we walked, they had there was 5 guards on the doors, and then you would walk 100 meters, guard in a chair. You walk another 100 meters, guard in a chair. You walk another 100 meters, guard in a chair. So it was just like, well, nothing's popping off here. Not unless the guards decide to rise up. If the guards want to do some shit, we're all in trouble. But, it was a very, very secure event. And, like I say, we were all very well looked after. Yeah, there was there's some logistical problems because you are working in a hockey arena, essentially. But, it was really, really good. Obviously, I had worries, This tells you how my brain works. Like, this is an 80% Muslim country. Am I going to be able to get a drink? I have no fear about that. Drinks were had at any time of day. So that was good news. I was very happy about that. I was a bit worried. I was like, oh, no. What if it gets to like midnight and there's not a drink in the... There's always a drink in Astana. So we were very good. But yeah, and then, we had a little bit of time to go out into the city and see some of the sights. Admittedly, not as much as I should have done. I took one of the days off and just spent the entire day slobbing around in bed because I was trying to like marshal my energy. I'm an older guy now. You have to really pick and choose when you go big and when you don't. And I wanted to be, I always want to give it my all when it's a stadium event. Always want to be able to fucking, even when we're not going out to the crowd, pump the energy out. So yeah, I can tell you some funny stories now. Right. So first thing, okay, on the day we landed, I think it was every year, former USSR countries, obviously, and Russia as well, they, being a former USSR country, they have their victory day for when they won World War II, because I know geopolitically we've all kind of forgotten about all of this, but they did play a part in that. I know, right? Crazy to think about, but we just move on and we don't talk about it now. And so they had theirs 2 days before the one in Moscow, which was like the day we landed. So we landed into the airport, and I'm looking out the window, and you have to understand, when you're flying over Kazakhstan, it's just a fucking vast landmass of just fields and nothing. There's tiny little settlements dotted around, but it's like really spacious, I guess would be the word. We come into the airport and it is just military people everywhere, and I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. There's armed guards, uniforms, there's an attack helicopter on the fucking runway. It's not a big airport, by the way, Astana. I was like, nah, here it goes, what's happening? And that, we went to get off the plane. The guy on the plane said, you can go now. And then as everybody started to walk off, there was two guards outside saying, "You can't go now." we say when you go now. But I thought that was just normal. Like, well, you're in Kazakhstan now, Rich. They do things different here. But that wasn't. It was because of the victory parade. So there was an increased military presence. So anyway, we got there. We went through customs. A lot of questions. Again, won't lie about it. A lot of questions about why we were there, which a lot of it was in broken English. So that was, we're here to work this event. And we were there at the same time as, I think there was some like Paralympics thing happening. So there was all these like athletes for that in the same queue. So everyone was getting fucking grilled. It's the military thing. So we were held. I mean, held is overselling it. I don't want to sound like Hassan. We were asked questions as to what we were doing there. As is supposed to happen at a functional border, and then we answered them, and then we got in. But it was pretty hairy. I mean, as I said, these are guys in uniform with guns. They're way more intimidating than the TSA or, your average American border police. Having been in and out of America, dozens of times. There's something about a guy in a fucking military cap with like medals on his chest asking what your purpose is. Just has a greater impact than when it's an American dude. So anyway, we fucking got through, waited for our bags, went to the hotel, and did the event. And as I said, it was just a great hotel. It had a spa and a sauna and a fucking salt room. That was the level we were on. Pool. Had a rooftop bar, which we were drinking in. Funnily enough, the rooftop bar was called Cloud9. And it was great. And then we also had, Harry had like one of the worst days of his life ever, pretty much before he had to go and like cast the finals, because he was on like the second from top floor, and one of the pipes burst and went into his room, so he had to move rooms. And then they were like, "Can you pack up my stuff and move it for me to the new room?" And then some of his stuff went missing. And he was like, "Yeah, but yeah." It was he had a tough one, but everyone else had a great time. The hotel was great. I loved it. Loved every second of it. Loved the sauna. Loved the gym. Loved the fucking salt room. Loved it all. But yeah, it was unlucky for Harry. But yeah, it was like it was a real. I'd got to say, like, the hospitality was just top tier, and everyone was super fucking friendly, super nice. Not just the fans, like just the people in general. Every time we went out, everyone was super friendly and asking questions about what we were doing and were we enjoying the city. And it was unbelievably like safe. I mean, when you're in those cities and you're just walking at night and it just feels like there's no one else around, and it's just like you wouldn't conceive that anything bad could happen. It was one of those places. I've been to a few places like that, like Vienna's like that overnight. So yeah, it was fucking awesome. It was really cool. Definitely, we're going back next year. So definitely looking forward to that. In terms of just the show, I thought the show was really good, man. I've been watching other people's shit. I'm obviously biased, but definitely seen some cheap looking shows, that are being put on. I thought everyone did great work. It was Tech Girl's first time doing a big stadium event. It was her first for that. So Sam handled that like a trooper. Obviously, it's all the regular crew, everyone that we work with. It's a shame that, some of the other casters were remote, but that's just the nature of the budget. That's how that one goes. You take your four and you have your others doing it online. It would have been really cool to experience that place with like some of my old friends like Moses, and Scrawny's always a good time. He would have fucking loved this place, So it's a shame we didn't get all the duos there, but it is what it is, But I mean, ultimately, super happy with the work that we did. Thought it was a really good show. There were some pretty unique challenges to it, and yeah, and like also we put together the show match pretty pretty speedily. That was organised. That was a sponsor thing. That was a sponsored segment, essentially, doing all of the show match. They wanted to have the Kazakh legends and the big streamers kind of come together and play for the crowd, but also it was a sponsored segment. And so we created, Team PGL, which was the talent and everything. And they were trying to get me to play, but I was like, nah, that just wouldn't even be fun for anybody. Nor would anyone care about me playing because I've never been a player. But I'll coach. And so we threw that we threw that together pretty quickly. And we came up with some funny ideas about how to do it. And basically, we had access to cheats. If any team got too far behind, you could activate a cheat to basically boost your power. And so there was one round where, like, I don't know if I didn't see the broadcast because I was in the broadcast, but there was like one round where Owner Pixel got wall hacks, which was funny. There was like one round where we just instantly respawned. We did the whole thing. We set up a bit where it was like, we'd reenact the Zonic timeout where I didn't call anything, and then I said, "Oh, let's just buy Munacy." So we tried to do some like fun bits, and I don't know what went out to. Because I was going out live to the stadium, so I don't know what went out on the fucking. I don't know what went out on the stream, but I know what we did, and that was like really cool. So it was nice to do something a little bit different, even though I was already sick, I was already ill, and like I nearly blew myself out doing the show match. I was so ill by the end of the show, I was like coughing and spluttering every time I was off air. But like we powered through. You don't. You finish the show, you man up, you thug it out. And so, yeah, that was good. And what else happened? Well, obviously, the big story about this was Owner Pixel. As you know, right, and I stand by this, right, I didn't like what he did with the Drillers thing, and I was very vocal about it at the time. But what I did in classic Richard Lewis fashion is I ascribed what I would consider to be a fair attribution of motivations based on my entire, 40-year knowledge of human history and how humans behave. And then I ascribed motivations that may not have been his to him in a tweet where I called him a greedy narcissist. Now, obviously, as I am, trying to be more zen and more mature as I got older, Owner's a big fan of mine. And like I say, when Owner tweeted out all of his most watched Twitch streams, that thing you get at the end of the year, like they do on Spotify, I was his most watched streamer, which is like crazy because I don't even stream, as you guys all know. So he never reacted to what I said when I called him a greedy narcissist. He just took it on the chin. He even said on stream at the time, he said like, that's Richard's opinion, and he's entitled to his opinion. He's very mature about it. And so I was like, well, if I get a chance to see him at this event, we'll talk it out. And so we did. We had a little talk. We had a talk off stream, and then I went on his stream for a little bit and had a walk around with his media guy, Olaf. And I said to him, like, yeah, sorry about that, basically. Like, it was an assumption. And it was a wrong assumption. He explained to me that basically, he made a mistake when they submitted his face as a placeholder, and he didn't know it was going to be the logo they would have had to have used, and he didn't really care about any of that anyway. He just wanted to get a sticker in the game because he thought it would have been cool for his community to be able to go out, and he said I wasn't going to keep all of the money, and so it was like, look, okay, I get it. It's fine. It's in the grand scheme of things, it's not the worst thing anyone's ever done in CS. And surprisingly, I had a really good time hanging out with him. We got on a lot better than I thought we would. I didn't know if he'd have anything to say, like that we could connect to. But it turns out that he does, and his media guy Olaf is great, really cool guy, very talented. Like again, too talented for esports and streaming. He'll probably go on to do very big things, probably in cinema or something. He's very smart, and one of the other things I suppose I'd done, and I've done this a lot, and I should know not to do this now, but it's reflexive, I guess, is when someone has a fan base and they have like a toxic element within that fan base, you judge them based on their fans, which you shouldn't do, but we do it. Historically we've always done it. Thorin and I have always done that. You know, it's like, think about all of the orgs we've criticised. Are we criticising the orgs? Are we criticising their fan bases? Meh. Kind of a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B sometimes. So we hung out on the stream. We hung out after the show match. We then hung out at the after party, which was great. We had a few drinks. And then when we were coming back, Owner was on our plane and we were trying to get upgraded. And even though business was empty, they wouldn't fucking upgrade us. And I'd already paid for it and they'd fucking refunded me. They refunded me my upgrade. And then I was like, but I could just sit there. And they're going, no, not our problem. So anyway, we ended up in an Irish bar at like 8 a.m. And like, I was like, right, Guinness, JMO, hot sauce, fucking, yeah. And everyone's like, you're a fucking animal. I'm like, no, this is normal. This is what you do. This is how you get through a hangover. So me and Owner were kind of sat there. We were talking about streaming culture and how difficult it is to fucking, you know, like keep your shit together when you're a public person and all of this stuff. It was really good. And, you know, it taught me a little bit. I've never been around, like, with the exception of the E-League days, I don't think I've ever been around anyone that famous in terms of just constantly being recognized. He was recognized everywhere we went in Kazakhstan. He was one of the few people not from that area that was just bombarded all of the time. When we went to the airport, bombarded. When we got on the plane, because we weren't in business, bombarded immediately. Like, everybody was talking to him. People coming up to me, you own it? Like, yeah. You know, so like it was, and he handles it so well. I mean, like, he handles it with such grace and kind of like, you know, humility. It was very good to see. Usually a lot of streamers, you think they're going to be arseholes. And you know, even if they hide it for you, you're going to see the monster come out eventually. But there was none of that with him. Like, he just literally was a really nice, sweet guy, you know, which is cool. So I was very impressed with him. And I hope we get to hang out and do some more collabs. We might do it over the... We might do it over the No Majors Club, because obviously he'll be co-streaming as well. So we'll see. But it was really good to hang out with him. And again, it's always good to get a fresh perspective on people you think you know, or you think you know something about. But when you realize you actually don't know what you think you know, it's just good. It's just a healthy thing to do. So I'm very, very happy we resolved that, and certainly hope we get a chance to hang out at future events. And thanks to him for making the event really cool, because he added value to the event. He added value to the event by being there and live streaming it, and he gave the fans a good experience, and he gave his stream a good experience. There were some really good interviews that happened on his stream, where, you know, there was I was on there. A lot of people were surprised to see us even talk like civilly, you know. But he did the Adrian one, which was like really cool. And so yeah, I hope he comes to more PGL events, and if for no other reason, then we can get a drink and hang out. And as I said, I include his media guy Olaf, who I don't know if people know him from his stream. Because I don't watch a lot of Owner's stuff. It's not really aimed at me. But he's like a really cool cat as well. So very, very good time. And always happy to be wrong about people. But also, you know, just in the spirit of not being an asshole in my old age, certainly can say I was wrong about Owner. He is not a greedy narcissist. He is a very young, I mean, he's still only like 27. He's a young, enthusiastic Counter-Strike fan who ultimately is dealing and processing being insanely famous within that space, within that world. One of the top streamers on the platform on Twitch these days, and handles it with grace and aplomb. So very, very impressed, and he was a fun hang. And I said as much. I had to run to catch a flight, so I didn't even get to say goodbye to him properly at the airport. It was one of those classic airport goodbyes. It was just like, bro hug, see ya, and then sprinting off, or whatever I call sprinting these days at my age, lumbering off into the distance to make a connection in the largest airport in the world, it seems. If you've ever been to Istanbul Airport, good luck if you land in F. If you land in F and you've got to get to A, that's a 2-hour walk. So enjoy that. Enjoy that. I mean, that was another funny thing as well. I nearly missed a connection as well. I had 1 hour to get across that to airport. As I said, that's a 2-hour walk or a 1-hour jog. And I was I made it. But when I got there, Blair had missed an earlier connection and was now on my flight. And I sat next to Blair, and I was fucking drenched. I was like, just sweat just pissing out of my head. And Blair was like looking at me, like looking at me, but he didn't recognize me. He was like looking like, fucking hell, look at this mess. And I'm going, Blair, it's me, man. It's me. Look, like just fucking rubbing my face and stuff. So if you have a transfer in Istanbul, save some time. Is the long and the short. Like, save some fucking time, because it is. If you're at one end and you've got to get to the other, it's a mission, and it is. And there's barely any of those moving walkways and stuff. So, but anyway, so that was pretty much the event. Was there anything else to talk about from the event? I mean, I got to hang out with the Astralis guys very briefly, a little bit at the after party, and then again in the airport. We were all on the same flight, just talking about what the future might hold for them. We'll talk about that when we get to the game segment. But again, they seem to be in a pretty cool place in terms of, I think they've just accepted now that whatever happens, it happens. Like, it's just fucking beyond. It's like you've just got to let Jesus take the wheel. And that's kind of why, they would just like pressure off. I think, honestly, as well, I'm not saying anybody said this, but my read was there was a big sense of relief. I guess things were tense with Cadian between some of the parties. And I think they just are like, okay, Hooksy's a much more fun guy to work with. And we're just going to relax and see what happens. But, I mean, basically, as I said on the Four Horsemen, there's bidding going on right now. There's a couple of bidders. I don't know how high it's got up, but it isn't a lot for what Astralis should be worth, a few million. And ultimately, there's a likelihood they want to, because they recognize that once the next major cycle starts, they lose the value of having a team and having the org. So I think they're looking to get a deal done quicker rather than for more later. But the options as it stands right now is they've already turned down an offer to buy 3 of the players, apparently, I heard. Source was telling me that. And obviously, you know what the Astralis guys were like. They were just like, we can neither confirm nor deny. All right, cool. Yeah, good. You've had your media training today. Well done. But they didn't want to sell the players individually. They want to kind of have the 5 go out as a 5, or essentially a 4, because Hooksy doesn't have a contract, as far as I can tell, or not a long-term one. And yeah, listen, I think the evil has essentially been vanquished. I think Nicola Nyholm's moving on. As far as I can tell, he's the one driving the sale. So it's kind of over. Like, all the reasons to hate Astralis are kind of gone. I don't think any of the people that made any of the decisions are even there anymore. Any of the people that did the bad things aren't there anymore. It really is just the players. And so it's kind of done. I mean, whatever happens to the brand, whoever gets it, it is going to be a fresh start. In kind of like, it's not like NIP. NIP pretended to have a fresh start, but it still had Hitcham Shaheen involved. So you were one of the bad guys from way back when, so it's still bad, right? This is like kind of like where Evil Geniuses is going to be now. Like, again, hating the people that are left Evil Geniuses is stupid. They're not the bad people. They're the ones that are left with the bag of shit after Peak 6 fucked off. That's kind of what you've got going on at Astralis right now. So we will see. But yeah, it was good. It was good because, I go way back with a lot of the Danes, and I got to talk to Rugger. I haven't talked to Rugger in fucking ages, mate. Me and him used to drink regularly at all of the Danish events when we were coming up through the scene. But, back when he was a player. And it was just nice. Like, this was just another one of those nice events where there wasn't really, like, everyone there kind of, they like me. I like them, really. Sometimes you just have to say some shit things, but most of the people there all get, what I'm trying to do in trying to gatekeep and look after Counter-Strike. And, yeah, it's never nice when you're on a desk and you go, that guy sucked and he made a mistake, and Stown's talking shit, and when he goes missing in every big game. Me and Stown were talking about that at the fucking airport together. I was like, look, bro, be really cool not to have to say that. So, yeah, it is what it is. But, yeah, overall, just in terms of the hang and all of that stuff, it was good. It was a very good event, and I had a very good time. And it really surpassed my expectations because, as I said, I was very worried about it. But this is one of those now where it's like, okay, we get a break now. I think the next Counter-Strike event is going to be Belgrade. And then after that, we're going to have some new spots on the tour announced in 26. And I'm booked all the way up with PGL till 27 to do their events. So I get some time off now. And getting some time off means, I can do the stream and do the No Majors Club. I did get floored with a bit of bad news while I was out there. But obviously when you work and you compartmentalize. I lost a friend while I was at the event. I've had a friend who's been ill for a while, and we thought that he might have had longer than he did, and then he didn't. Basically, the plan was his birthday was coming up, and so we were going to have a big fucking blast off for his birthday, and we were kind of convinced we would get that far because he was like, listen, after my birthday, I'm finished, but. He didn't get there, and so we were kind of like, oh. So I got that news again, like probably 2-3 days out from the event, and sort of came back. So I've got the funeral to go to on like the 13th or whatever. So it's going to be right in the middle of the major. So there will be one day I'm not at the No Majors Club, but other than that, that's pretty much it. It's going to be solid streaming, and we'll power through. So, yeah, it was a great event. Very good, healing, nourishing, spiritual, fun, everything you could want. And now that means we must, of course, talk about the actual boring part, the games, which weren't boring because PGL, for some reason, always get blessed with insane storylines. So, just going to pick it all out in no particular order. I'll start by talking about G2, because I actually tweeted out about this one, which was funny. But basically, we got told, it was all the rumors were all circulating, all the players are in the lobby, people are talking, people are whispering, people are catching up with each other and high-fiving each other. And we got told that G2 weren't going to have Hunter. And we were like, what? What do you mean they're not going to have Hunter? Well, it turns out they're not going to have Hunter because they essentially made a clerical error. And so what they ended up doing was they basically, right, so this is what I've been told. So when G2 deny it and say I'm wrong, we can all check with our sources and everything, but this is what I got told. Basically, Hunter is a Serbian, but who lived in Bosnia and now lives in Serbia, but has a Bosnian passport. I think that's right. All of that's right. This is obviously a lot of trepidation around getting all of this correct. Because once again, the Balkan stuff frightens me. So he's a Bosnian Serb and has and I believe a Bosnian passport. And so anyway, as a result of that, to get into Kazakhstan, it's different for Serbs and different for Bosnians. And Serbs can go. They don't have to apply for a visa. Bosnians do. And G2, I guess, the management were like, it'll be all right. And didn't Google it, didn't check or whatever. And then when they went to go, it was like, oh, we can't use Hunter. So it was incompetence, essentially. And and so they tried to make it sound, as far as I could tell, they tried to make it sound like, oh, it was an error at Kazakhstan's part or PGL's part. Someone else. No, This was definitely just a mistake from G2. And the problem was, and this is the other part, we were like, okay, so they used Taz, and we set it up on the show. We were doing the storyline. Taz, the old man, the stand-in, he comes back. And if they get there, if they get to the playoffs, if they get to the promised land of the playoffs, then they can bring Hunter back, and who knows what they could do. Well, the problem with that was there wasn't even an option to get a short notice visa because there was all holidays and celebrations and Victory Day celebrations and all this stuff. Everything was fucking closed. Everything was closed. So when they didn't get to the playoffs, it was kind of a relief because it was just like, well, they would have had to play with Taz still. And I want to say something. I'll go big head actually. I want to say something to all of y'all motherfuckers because look, it's no secret me and Taz are friends, right? It's no secret we're in the fucking old boys club, obviously. You know, veterans of Counter-Strike. I mean, I've been watching Taz and writing about Taz pretty much for the entirety of my career, and I'm having the pleasure to get to know him. Yeah, I do feel he's been fucked over a little bit because I'm not going to say whether or not he's a good coach or a bad coach or whatever, right? But that organisation couldn't have fucked him up more. G2 couldn't have fucked Taz over more if they had tried to. Before this event, remember, we just had the fucking G2 CEO doing that ridiculous interview where he's going, we got a vibes coach. Like, don't say that out loud. The community are already saying that about him. They say he doesn't. They're saying this Hall of Famer player doesn't understand how to play the fucking game. So you do that to him, then you fuck up the paperwork or whatever for your player. Well, he didn't fuck up any paperwork. He just didn't realise they had to file any paperwork. So that's a fuck up. Then he's got to stand in for you. And he just does it unquestionably, even though he's going to get shit on. And, by the way, I was in the room when they were playing. He was the one, whenever anything was going wrong, he was like, come on, guys, look, we just calm down, yeah? Let's communicate, let's talk this out. We can make this work. He was being the fucking... He was the leader, right, in all of that stuff. And so, you know, like, he tanked all of that. And remember, he's being replaced. He's being replaced. And he knows it. It's already been announced. It's already in the news. Saul's taking his job from him after the major. So he literally just went, got shit on by his CEO unwittingly, plays at an event where everyone's like, you're bad, you're old, you're 38. One of the oldest players to play in an S-tier competition, by the way. I think we worked it out. He was like third highest. And then, thanks for steering the ship and looking after the players. And you're fired, by the way. See ya. So I've got to say, like, fucking hell. And I'll say about all of those players, people were going like, oh, Malb's had a bad game. He's looking stressed out. Yeah, obviously. He thought he was going to be playing with Nico and Munacy. He thought his job was to be the third best player on the fucking team, which he was achieving easily. Sometimes, you know, he would jump above them on a map or two, but he never had to. Now he's got no one. Now he's just there and, what's wrong with Malbs? I think you just have to realise this is Malb's level. This is meant to be his level. He was never meant to be the star of G2, was he? So there was that. Hunter's not there. Your secondary caller, by the way, the guy that calls the CT and mid-rounds and stuff. It's ridiculous. You've got to stand in AWPA. Hades said before he went to that event, all he wanted to do was prove he could still play at Tier 1. Like, no, you selfish ends. You're selfish ends. And by the way, he had one or two good maps. He did okay. It was just ridiculous. It was a fucking mess. I feel you couldn't have set that group of players up for a worse event if you fucking tried. And they still nearly got to the playoffs. But, I mean, obviously, they didn't get to the playoffs. So, whatever. It is what it is. So, G2, you know, just another fucking nightmare for them. It's mad to think about how busted that org has become. And I put a video out about it recently, but I want to reiterate it here. I think you just need to get used to the idea G2 aren't a big org anymore. I don't think they're going to have the same spending power by all accounts. There's definitely been some stories that haven't been told on that front. Also, as well, I'll tell you, I've had it fucking laid out to me at this event, because that was another thing. I mean, listen, I don't want to talk about this, but he said he's going to talk about this and he's going to tell his Telegram. So Overdrive, remember how he said, hang on, we'll go big head again. Overdrive did that thing, right, where he said, when I see Richard in Astana, I will ask him, are you idiot or even bigger idiot? That was the quote that he said, right? And I was just like, oh, please don't fucking approach me in any way, shape or form. I don't want old Richard to come out. Let's just have a nice event. But anyway, he walked up to me. He was obviously working the talent as well. And he came up to me in the green room, and I just thought, here we fucking go. So I said, have you come to call me a fucking idiot or a bigger idiot? Which one is it, you cunt? And he looked at me and was going, I just wanted to talk to you. I thought we should talk. I went, that's your problem, mate. You fucking think you're entitled to fucking talk to me. And I can assure you, you are fucking not. And he said, well, but I just thought we should work it out. You have said some things that upset me. And I could feel the blood boiling. I could feel it. I could just fucking feel it, right? But new Richard and I'm zen. Right? I'm zen. So I said, I've got to go and do a death segment. If you're still here after that segment, I will calmly and rationally talk to you. So I went, I did the death segment, and he was still there. So I sat down. I said, what have I said that has upset you and that you think is unfair? So he went through it all and he said, you said this and you said that and you did this and you said I'd toss a coin and I guess on my sources, but I promise you I do. And I was going, yeah, you should probably correct it when you get it wrong and say, I got that one wrong. That would go a long way to restore some faith. He went, but it's also I'm just trying, it's got nothing to do with my work with Spirit. I keep it very separate. You shouldn't say that. I'm just doing this for the fans. And I said, look, I think you're an attention seeker, and I think that's why you do it. And there's nothing you can say that will convince me otherwise. There's nothing I can say that's going to make you stop. And I said, I will agree with you on this. It's very silly that two men of our collected age, right? You're 38 or whatever, and I'm 39 forever. It's silly that we're fighting like that, right? So let's not do it. Let's just not do it. Let's just not talk about each other. And he said, that's fine. That's good. And I shook his hand and we let it slide. And there you go. So that is what I call personal growth. I even said that to him. I said, old me would have got into a massive confrontation with you here. But I said, I have done some self-reflecting. And you should think about that too at your age. You should assess your own personality and what you could do to be a better person. Because you're getting old. You've got a responsibility to the world. A responsibility to the fabric of existence itself to not be a piece of shit. So, we did it. We talked. Won't say we hugged it out, but we left on very respectful terms. And as I said, all because of that stuff that was going on, we had, there was people telling me all sorts of shit about what was going on. Like, all of a sudden, he's talking to Overdrive. People just started coming up and telling me, do you want to know this secret? Yeah, all right then. Yeah. So I heard loads of stuff. One of the things I heard, of course, was that G2 essentially didn't go full bag heavy for Munacy. They could have, but they didn't. He certainly got a much better deal where he is now. And also, it's not just a bag thing. It's obviously the Nico thing. But I think he was done with G2. I think Munacy, I think what they said about VP or Spirit poaching him, yeah, he would have gone to either of those. He just wanted out of G2. I think by that point, they'd fucked him around so much, he was just done. So, there you go. That was another little interesting tidbit I got. Right, back to the games. We got what we called the Choke Slam, if you remember that. Always good, which was here. Mongols, obviously at this point, I think we just need to say Mongols are just never going... This lineup, until they get over... It's not a talent thing. It's definitely not a talent thing. It's not a firepower thing. It's not a tactics thing. I couldn't believe it, actually, when Blair laid it out for me and he showed me Senzu stats in groups versus Senzu stats in playoffs at every major event they've attended. It is fucking insane. It is actually insane. It is the most revealing statistic I have ever seen. Forget all of that Ziwu talk about him being a fucking group farmer. Senzu is actually crazy with that shit. And keep in mind, you wouldn't cut Senzu. He is nominally your star player. He's the guy, right, that you want to have doing well. He's the guy that has the cultural impact and, of course, swags out and frags out, but only in the groups. And then it gets to these games and whack, whack. This was dreadful. I mean, keep in mind, Mongols, in a group stage, their T-side Mirage might conceivably be the best in the world. It might conceivably be that good, right? They play a T-side on Mirage that will absolutely fucking decimate you. They picked Mirage, and we didn't even get to see a fucking T-side. They were garbage. They just got fucking banged out by Aurora. Aurora have still got all of their problems, by the way, but Mongols... And it's kind of crazy because we'll probably talk about this a little bit later in the stream, but what happened with the ATOX situation, all of them getting banned for match fixing, like that's a massive part of the Mongolian talent pool, the people you might look to airlift into an organisation like Mongols. They're gone now. And I think because they're the youngest team, they're like average age is like 19. Right? Everyone wants them to do well, and everyone wants them, like an anime, you know, the power of friendship. They want this 5 to do well. But this 5, it's just never going to do it. Something has to change. And it's like I said on the broadcast, you know, if it's good enough for Astralis to go and get a performance coach and a sports psychologist and a fucking nutritionist and everything else that you have to do just to get you over the hump, just to get you that one big win, because let's be real, Thunderpick wasn't it. They all said after they won in Berlin, we want more of it. No. You need a big one. You need a real one. But yeah, It's crazy. And also as well, I mean, there's also the idea that maybe they're just fucking checked out in the sense that they've got like generational wealth. Like if you know like the average Mongolian salary and what these guys have made through CS, obviously, and they're being referenced in Mongolian fucking rap songs and all this other stuff. Hey, Joe Biden's got cancer now. The idea is so back. I can say it now. He's out of the pit. He was fine the whole time, guys. 4 more years. So there is an aspect to it where people think they might be fucking, you know, really complacent because they're just you can just be the 8th best team in the world. You can just turn up, finish top 8 every event, make a fortune, go home. You're being referenced in rap songs. You're getting recognized on the streets. I mean, the boys who went to the Mongolian event told me like Mongolia is so. I wish I'd gone now. I just couldn't. It was too close to Astana, and I thought if I get stranded in Mongolia and I don't make it to Astana, PGL will be furious. But anyway, everywhere they went, they were recognised. Everyone, anything to do with CS, were getting recognised. Every bar they went into, the Counter-Strike was on in the bar. Every time they tried to pay for drinks, somebody was going, no. And I'm talking about, like, not the players. I'm talking about the English-speaking broadcast talent. They were like, you don't pay for your drinks here, Henry. You don't pay for your drinks here, Dinko. You know, like that shit. So they were celebrities, like. And so if you're the best Mongolian players in Mongolia, by the way, they said as well, the guys told me the audience was something like mostly women. That's what they were saying. They were saying like the women are crazy for the players. Like they are absolutely, you know, a lot of temptations out there, I guess. So the guys, these guys, they might just be living a fucking rock star life, and in which case maybe you don't have the passion, particularly at, you know, 20 years old or whatever, to fucking grind hard and get better and what have you. But it was crazy. It was crazy hearing about like how revered they are domestically. And so I guess every time you're going home and you go into that environment, can't walk down the street. I mean, they are recognized like to the same level as, like, I don't know, a famous basketball player or a famous football player, you know, a soccer player if you're American, you know, like that's what they're living with every day. And also, you know, they've got money and fucking all of that stuff. So I don't know, maybe it's that. But it makes me sad because I look at the potential of that lineup, and every time they fucking underperform, it just makes me think, like, when is it ever going to happen? Yanko's totally checked out on him. He said to me, look, we've all been duped. You know, we've been tricked into thinking they could conceivably win a trophy. And the longer CS2 goes on and the more the meta gets defined and everything else, yeah. I mean, you know, who realistically is going to take Vitality's crown? It won't be the Mongols. So they might have missed a window. There was definitely a window where these guys could have really done something and won some of the smaller trophies. They should have had a Bucharest. They could have had a Cluj, you know, that kind of thing. They just never did it. They never stepped up, and I think that window's closed. By the way, everything I've just said about the Mongols, say it about Aurora as well. I mean, I saw, was it Xantares? He was like, why you all hate me, man? That was fucking hilarious. I'll get that tweet. Like Will Smith in the Fresh Prince. How come you don't want me, man? So, Xantares did like Kazakhstan. He had a good time there. You can see it. PGL Astana was an unforgettable experience for us. An incredible event, amazing atmosphere, and passionate esports fans from all around the world. Being on stage in Astana was truly special. I mean, I'll add this: the fans were fucking mega. I can't express it enough. There was no bias whatsoever in the sense that, yeah, they had their favourites, but even the teams that weren't favourites, like there was a lot of people worried, there might be like boos for Na'Vi, like people were speculating. They cheered every single team, and where it was like we were actually being given something very special indeed. Hooksy chants. Never in my fucking lifetime. People chanting Hooksies. Again, this wouldn't happen. This wouldn't happen in Denmark. What's going on? Hooksy, Hooksy. Every time. Cheering for Astralis. It was crazy. They were doing that when Spirit were playing against them, for fuck's sake. They were hooksing out of their minds. So fucking credit to the fans. They were fucking mega. Anyway, a heartfelt thank you to everyone who supported us throughout the tournament, those who filled the arena with energy, stood in line at the signing sessions time and time again and brought smiles to our faces. Every good luck message, every cheer, every bit of support meant the world to us. With that support, we finally broke the curse, and we are now moving forward stronger than ever. But then there was this, and this was in Turkish, so this has been translated from Turkish. How come we are booed in every arena? We said Kazakhstan, we said friendly country, the guys only supported the opponent. We said Dallas, we went on stage, boos again. My Turkish friends, we really need you in these arenas. Now, far be it from me to say this is illustrative of a weak mind. You know, like, if people are booing you, fucking feed on that shit. That's what I do. People boo me all the time. You gotta love it. You gotta get Ty Cobb on that shit and just be like, you know, it's fucking, let's go. So yeah, that was a weird one. But anyway, I mean, Aurora, they did win a playoff game in PGL Astana and obviously won the third place playoff over Furia. So that was cool. We should talk about Na'Vi, I guess. Yeah, this is where it gets funny. So Na'Vi lost to Astralis. This was one of the more interesting series at the event, I would say. They were comprehensively outclassed on Ancient, which was a Hooksy masterclass. And it has to be said, like, up until this point, the writing was on the wall because Alexi had been like their top performer. But Jesus Christ, like, hang on, I will show you the fundamental problems. If you look down here, you will see that Bit was pretty much average. He was like Na'Vi's worst player at the event. It wasn't even Alexi B. And Imma, not too far ahead, although at least into the green. And Imma gets all of this shit, but Bit went missing pretty in all of their in their biggest match at the tournament. He got 3 kills in that game on Ancient, which is like unthinkable. And yep, this Na'Vi lineup, I just think it's toast. I just think they're gonna go through this major, and then it's time for a shake-up. Because realistically, you think about where they were end of 2024, where they're at now, the drop-off is fucking extreme. And there's no way, and I say this with all due respect to Astralis, there's no way Na'Vi should be losing to an Astralis with a stand-in IGL that had 9 days prep time. Keep in mind, we're all talking about Blade being this, like, GOAT coach and all of this stuff, like, and Alexi B being one of the best IGLs. So it's like, look, your players have to go out and produce. And I think it's crazy, because people are picking on Wonderful all the time. They say it's all on him, that he's the problem. And it's like, is he inconsistent? Does he get nervous? Does he go for basically he's a better version of Brokey, essentially, where at the point when Brokey got cut from FaZe. But he's not the issue. You can't. Bit was one of the best fucking riflers in the world. You can't have that level of drop off. When they were winning all the trophies, everyone was saying, "Wow, Immer's here. He's arrived. He's replicating his Gamer Legion form." Now he's just another average rifler. You know, it's like those two players are the issue. Like, JL's still clutch. He still gets up for the big games. He's not the problem. Wonderful's fine. I think if you tunnel in and say you have to replace Wonderful, I think you're crazy. I saw people saying, oh, if you replace Wonderful with Brokey. No, guys. No, you're out of your fucking minds. Out of your minds if you think that. So, Na'Vi finishing top 8, pretty sad. But the fucking sour grapes that came afterwards, it was hilarious. I'm gonna do the thing that I said in the Owner Pixel segment I wasn't going to do ever again. I'm going to immediately be a hypocrite and do it. But this was Blade, and he said it was just a tier 2 tournament, and yet we only placed top 8. A weak and unacceptable performance from us once again. Apologies to everyone who kept believing in us. Time to refocus and prepare for the major. Now, I'm going to just tell, again, I wear my heart on my sleeve on this stuff, and you can say, Richard, you're biased because you have a working relationship with PGL, and you should say that, and you should be very careful about judging things I say when I have a financial interest in one company doing better over the other. You'd be fools, I say, to just blindly accept what I say on this particular topic. I will point to 20 years of good standing. I'll point to an immaculate record in my journalism. I'll point to, always having the interests of the scene at heart and having been that gatekeeper and custodian for 2 decades. But I can be wrong, and I can be blinkered sometimes because I've stared into the abyss and seen too much. But I'm just going to tell you this. First of all, was it a Tier 2 tournament? Nah, it wasn't a Tier 2 tournament. I mean, you couldn't call it a prestige tournament in the sense that, Vitality weren't there, and, there was some notable names not in attendance, right? Now, why is that? Well, it's because you're all in cahoots with the fucking Saudi Death Star. You're in cahoots with the fucking Empire to fucking get your feathers nested and to make as much of a bag as you can. And so even when PGL have fucking acquiesced, right, you'll fly to fucking Melbourne on the other side of the world and back and wreck your players with jet lag for an event that doesn't even pay the players as much as an event in Bucharest. And then you'll pretend, will you, that's not a political choice. You'll pretend publicly that's got nothing to do with ESL and Saudi Arabian money and the esports World Cup versus PGL and people that aren't in that orbit. You're going to pretend that, are you? So, listen, I'll tell you the next part, right? It would, if you would just come to the events, you know what I mean? Now, this one, everyone's going, oh, but Rich, that's not fair. I mean, Dallas was right on top of it. Yeah, why? Why is that? Why did ESL do that? Yeah, correct. Why were ESL telling teams you can't go to Astana because you've got a media day obligation for us? So, once again, everyone's let ESL pass on that one. They're pulling the strings. But here's the next thing, right? It wasn't a Tier 2 tournament. If you wanted to be, cruel, capricious, some would say, just honest, I don't know. But you could call it a Tier 1.5. You know, I think the teams that were there with a big stadium finish felt like an S-tier tournament to me. Certainly has that demarcation on Wikipedia, so that's all fine. But this is part of it, guys. This is part of it. He's immediately going to walk it back, but there's no... Okay, the three teams, the three orgs, I should say, that were driving all of this bullshit and demanding money, and then also demanding money based on viewership they bring to it. That's interesting. Na'Vi doesn't win tournaments anymore, doesn't get placements anymore. And all of a sudden, we're moving to a business model where viewership is the metric that players are organizations are getting rewarded for. Basically, the Louvre Agreement and what they had at Gamers 8 all atom smashed together so they can still get paid. Nobody's sad, even though it's essentially taking money out of the player's pocket, but that's okay now, I guess. So anyway, the three organisations that are driving this shit are Liquid, Na'Vi, and Vitality. It is those three. Everybody else is in on it, obviously, to a lesser extent, but the three orgs that drive this fucking, let's get money from ESL and fuck everybody else, and let's all keep ESL close and do what they want, it's Na'Vi, Liquid, Vitality. So, do you think, then, it is a coincidence that Blade, and you're going to go, oh, but he's just a coach, Richard. That's actually not true. Blade now is becoming an increasingly important person internationally. I do believe, if memory serves me correctly, in a news story that went largely unnoticed, he's part of the Ukrainian Esports Federation now. Basically, the Na'Vi management got rid of the old guys, and those guys have a relationship with the IESF and the GEF, which are Saudi-controlled, and obviously the Esports World Cup as well. So, Blade isn't just some guy who stands behind the players. He's obviously very aware and astute politically of what's going on. And then he comes out and says it was just a Tier 2 tournament. He said this repeatedly, by the way. He called it a Tier 2 tournament repeatedly. He said it in an interview. He said it on Twitter after they lost, right? And then, right, so obviously that's about the ESL stuff. That's about denigrating their opponents because they don't want to coexist with PGL. They want PGL to not exist, which is why I am so furious about it, because we know from reporting, we know increasingly they're making cutbacks at ESL. I mean, can you believe why isn't this a bigger news story? They fired Torbull. He's gone. Torbull. Remember Torbull? Remember all those puff pieces about fucking Torbull, Craig Levine? Remember how there was all these puff pieces about, he was really helping change the fucking... He's gone. A core CEO was deemed surplus to requirements on a big salary. So they're making all these cutbacks over there. I've been going through all their financial records published on the Substack, of course. They are literally in their fucking official financial document saying we are in cost-cutting measures. And because of how they file their cost-cutting measures, that we're a year behind. We don't even know what happened in 2024 yet. We've only just got 2023s. So things could be worse. The cost-cutting measures might not work. Anyway, all of which is to say, ESL, I'm not saying they won't exist, but in their current form, they might have to really scale down and change tournaments. So do you think it's bad that they're fucking up a competitor now? It is for the space. It's bad for the scene. And so he knows what he's saying when he calls it a Tier 2 tournament. That's a little barb, a little jab, quite deliberately. And then when people realised this and pointed it out, he walked it back. And he said, to clarify, this post isn't about PGL. It couldn't be more about fucking PGL, mate. It's about team list in terms of our performance and potential. Vitality, Mouse and Falcons were better teams last tournament, and they are missing here. PGL is doing a great job, thumbs up. How fucking cringe is that to walk it back? We all know what you were doing. We all know why you said it. We all know that's what you think. And one of my predictions that I made when all this politics bullshit started, when you had to start paying these orgs to turn up to your events, where they get prize money and free accommodation and free flights. Now you have to pay them a fee to even be there. I said, even if PGL walk it back and start paying these organisations, you will never see a PGL event where they all attend. And you won't. And they're going to pretend it's, the calendar. I saw Zonic was out there priming the pump today as well. More useful idiocy. Saying, the way the VRS is and the travel schedule, players might get burnout, says the coach that presided over the team that quite famously got burnout. So, just understand what's going on. And it is going on. Anyway, Na'Vi, 8th, not good enough. But Ninjas in Pajamas getting a top 8, well, that's crazy. That is, as they say, cray-cray. Because Nip, listen, don't like the org, don't like the management, but can respect what they've done in a pretty short space of time. I don't want to call it miraculous that they got here, but they had some pretty good results. And squeaking through over, yes, G2 with the stand-in, and getting to the playoffs was a big deal for Nip. I obviously made a video about it at the time. I said this is NIP's best lineup. This is NIP's best lineup in a long, long time. This is like one of the best lineups they've actually had. And you can see they've got Wrinkle. They locked him up on a long-term deal, which is great. They brought in Shush. He was like the forgotten guy from the heroic smashing up. He's playing lights out at the moment. The Aradochi and New Jerks thing, well, the jury's still out on that one. But you've also got a fucking established IGL in the form of Snappy that made them very tactically efficient. And so, no, they're never going to beat the likes of a Team Spirit, not in their current form. But they're certainly now back. And that's huge for the future of the organization. They jump up, like where they are in the VRS rankings now, off the back of that. Let's actually have a look. Where are they at now? Like 23rd. And if you filter it to Europe, 17. Like, these guys were nowhere. These guys were like 50th or something prior to this. So they're back in contention to get invites again and get to some more tournaments. And they might, I think they will snowball that into becoming a much more regular participant in a lot of these events, which I'm very happy about. So it was a big W for NIP. Then, this was a cool story. I'll just mention it briefly. I've got to say it. When Furia said they were going international, I was like, yeah, but why though? Like, why not just retire, Fallen? Please just retire. Well, this is probably the most shocking thing to come out of Astana, if we're being honest about it. Yakindar had good games. He was entry fragging. He seemed confident, happy again. He looked in better shape. He came on the desk, did an interview with us. Super good to see him happy again and enjoying his Counter-Strike. This Molodoy kid, what a find. Fallen gave him the AWP. He had a pop-off in his home country. Crowd fucking chanting his name. 20 years old. Handled his shit. Got better as the tournament progressed. Did well on the stage. You could see he had some nerves. He still whiffed a few of the easy shots. You could see the rush of blood and the adrenaline. But there you go. And Fallen, as a rifler, had some of his best performances. Which is crazy to think about. We ignore this one. We ignore this series. This is where we want to be. We ignore these. But yeah, he played well. He played well at this tournament. And on a rifle. Definitely made the right decision in handing it over to Molodoy. And certainly, I can fuck with this team now. You ignore Dallas. But I can fuck with this team. I can definitely see life. So, definitely going to watch them with interest. But, of course, the big one, the big story is Astralis making it to the final. And honestly, made a really good contribution to the final. That last map on Train was fucking mega. It was really, it was really cool. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about the obvious thing. Again, I'll go big head just for it. Let's talk about Hooksy. Because he's what they changed coming into this event. And obviously, Hooksy has been a topic, a subject I've talked about a lot on the channel. And so let's do it. Let's have the reappraisal. Now, for me, I can definitely say now, and mean it, I can now agree, as much as I love Cadian as a friend, that Hooksy was the right choice. When they picked up Cadian, they should have given Hooksy that gig. Right? 100%. And for me, I think that is now a fair thing to retroactively go back and say. I think Cadian, it wasn't a great pickup. Just first of all, right out the gate, he's an AWPer. You have a device already on the team. You know, he had previous beef with two of the players. It was always going to get fractious. I don't know what his relationship with Kasper Strauber was like, but you had him sticking his fingers in the gumbo. It just wasn't right. What you needed wasn't somebody like Kasper. You definitely needed someone like Rasmus. And Hooksy is someone that is certainly really good at flattening out his emotions and his needs to work well with others. And I've heard that from pretty much everyone that's ever played with him, right? So it's not a coincidence. What, you know, I might not like some of the things he says or does, but ultimately I don't have to work with him, right? So who gives a fuck what old Richie Lou thinks? And so the reality is, I can say now, with just based on 9 days of prep work, that absolutely he would have been a better choice. Now, what I'm not going to do is go back to G2 and say G2 should have kept him, should have given him a chance with Matt. I'm not doing that. That's stupid. It's stupid to go that far back and pretend that, first of all, he should have, you know, he wasn't doing the type. He's not the same person. Clearly, a year out of the game with no one wanting to pick you up and then you having to go to Astralis, it's going to humble you a little. It's going to give you some perspective. It's going to make you certainly, you know, think differently about things. That's absolutely what's happened here. I think actually the time off and the G2 experience has made him a better man, a better person, a better leader, and better equipped to lead. I also think it's worth pointing out, you know, Danes are a particular type of people. You all know it. You've all been to Denmark. You've all met a Dane, right? You know what they're like. There's a particular personality type with them. And so, you know, the sense of humour that they have and the way they carry themselves. It's why Brits and Danes generally get along well. We've got very similar gallows humour and similar cultural concepts, big drinkers. You know what I mean? And so, Hooksy, working with Danes in Copenhagen Flames, got the best out of them, goes to an international lineup. Turns out some of the players didn't necessarily vibe with it, didn't vibe with his style. He goes to a fucking beleaguered Danish team, 9 days prep work, does really good. So maybe he has to just work with an all Danish lineup as well. Nothing wrong with saying that. We do have single nation lineups in Counter-Strike and across all of esports. I will not go back and retcon his time in G2 and pretend that he should have been given more resources and given more time and he would have won more. I'm not doing that. The players clearly didn't agree with that either, no matter what the community wants to say about it. There were players on that lineup that wanted him out. And as I said, the nail was in the coffin. The minute you lift a trophy, which shows, by the way, that the players, they just balled out in Dallas. The minute you lift a trophy without your leader and in place of your leader, a player who is washed and hasn't competed for 2 fucking years, and you lift that trophy, the writing is on the wall. It is GG, no fucking re, you are out. It wouldn't matter, by the way, if you were thought of prior to that as a good IGL. It wouldn't matter if you were playing well. Your position would be called into question in that moment in time, let alone with all the problems that you had. I also have said, and this has always been one of my criticisms of Hooksy, you can't just be a voice in modern Counter-Strike, especially not in CS2, where you've got teams like Mouse that just prove maybe you don't even need a tactical leader if the firepower's strong. And so you cannot just be a voice. What you have to be is somebody that contributes. And unfortunately, in G2, Hooksy's strats were all, I go die, then I will micromanage the round and you trade me out. That's dog shit. I don't want my IGLs playing like that. Yes, you're very often going to have the lowest stats on the server. You're going to be the least mechanical player, the most cerebral player. You sacrifice your numbers because you've got to manage a game plan. I get all of that. But you cannot just construct strats that basically operate from the premise we will always be, at worst, 4v5, at best, 4v4, 4v3. It cannot operate like that. So, you know, I never liked it. And he played way more selfish and had way more highlight rounds and did best numbers and was playing his best Counter-Strike of his career, by the way. So I feel vindicated about the criticism. Now, that doesn't mean, by the way, that I don't have a greater respect for Hooksy, because I definitely do. And we even talked about it again. We talk, man. You know, like I talked to these guys. Saw him at the after party as well. Have a drink. Good for you. I think what he did in the final against Spirit, nearly taking us to a 5th map, would have been insane. It would have been miraculous. It would have been unthinkable. They pushed them all the way on train. And as I said, look, he didn't get his frags. He had a really low rating here. But it's not a million miles from the old Chop Chop. 11-27, 14-21. These are very negligible stat lines in terms of what they contribute. So, and what he did for Stair, what he did for Device. Device said it was his fault on this one. He did miss some shots on train. But ultimately, I thought, this could have easily gone to a 5th map. This could have gone to a decider on Ancient, and then who knows what would have happened there. Keep in mind, they nearly came back as well from 2 maps down. They got battered in the first, battered on their pick, but then they battered Spirit on Mirage, and then nearly won on train. This is against Team Spirit, who were favourites for the event. Everyone was saying they've got to win the event, blah, blah, blah. And so, anyway, for me, what Hooksy did in his very, very brief time, you can see he's not even been officially added on here yet, because he came out today and basically said, well, I don't even have a contract. This was BO3.GG. Exclusive. Hooksy on a full-time contract with Astralis? No, there's not. For now, I am back to where I left off. Now, when I interviewed him on the desk at the fucking show, I said to him, have you talked to the management? Is there a contract online? If you do well, you've gotten to the playoffs. Do you get an extension? What? And he said, I do not fucking know. I do not know. That's how Astralis is being run right now. They just threw this guy in there because they had a contractual obligation to meet. And all the most important focus for the organization is to get them sold. So this guy, not even under contract, and he did that. So, I'll say to him, insane respect. To come in and do a professional job, to go to that tournament. Obviously, you've got a lovely memory out of it. The fans chanting your name on 2 occasions in the stadium. You played in the final against Donk. All the players, by the way, all the people on Spirit were saying positive things about Hooksy and what he'd done for Astralis and stuff. So, I put it this way, if there is an opportunity there for Astralis to A, still exist, B, still have a CS team, this guy's earned a contract. It's not even up for debate. He has earned a contract. Astralis should absolutely sign this guy. Even if it's only for 6 months during a transitional period, he deserves it. He deserves to play again. He deserves to represent Astralis. Simple as that, right? So, give this man his fucking money and give this man his flowers. But ultimately, yeah, the talking point, the big talking point, Spirit did win. And Donk had to kind of do Donk things. He had a fucking insane performance, as you can see. 1.5 rating across 15 maps. One of the highest of any player, one of the highest in his career. And there's just no stopping that. Now, what is interesting is a lot of rumours coming out about Team Spirit and how the whole Kyosuke thing was handled. Apparently, again, just hearing stuff behind the scenes because, people talk at events. And I think Maui said it on a podcast now, but one of the things that we were essentially told was Kyosuke wanted out. It's not that, Spirit is selling him to get the bag. It's that ultimately he thinks he should be in the team and looks at what Falcons are doing over there and thinks, if I can play with Munacy and Nico and show everybody how good I'm going to be, then fine. And so a lot of misinformation around that entire deal. But if you've got an academy player and the academy player is banging out everyone at the academy level and saying, I am fucking ready for the next level, and yet you're not putting him in the team, this is what happens. This is Wayne Rooney to Man United. David Moyes mismanaged that relationship with that player. And that's how it goes sometimes. So that was an interesting thing. But the other aspect to that is people are trying to imply that Donk is getting pissed off that he's not getting any more help. And I don't know. He looked tilted at various points in the final. That much is certain. And playing the way they played, They're not going to beat Vitality. They're not going to be the organisation that takes their crown either. So they definitely have to make some fundamental changes somewhere along the line, be that a roster move or be that not. But there's going to be an insane roster shuffle after Austin, and Spirit could just as easily be among it. It's absolutely possible. So we will see. But, I mean, ultimately, Spirit had to get that win. They had to win a trophy when Vitality weren't there and Falcons weren't there and, you know, these other orgs weren't there. They had to do it. Obviously, it was very good for them territorially speaking. They had a lot of fans, but I was very surprised. I thought they were going to be clearly the home team. They were not the home team. They were very much, Astralis were very much cheered for in that final and didn't have it all their own way. So, ultimately, the event pretty much went the way that I thought it would, but with some pleasant surprises along the way, most notably Hooksie's Astralis, Furia's international team, Aurora winning a playoff game, and NIP being in the playoffs, and G2 just being a complete clusterfuck shit show, because that's what they do now. So, it was a good one. PGL Astana. Let me just check. Was there a final thing? Anders did the 3rd and 4th place playoff, right? At PGL Astana. Anders and DDK. And he made a call that is just brilliant. And I might make it my sub sound for at least one day of the No Majors Club. Because obviously, it was an insane clutch moment that happened. It was like, I think, Madja with a defuse or something. And anyway, he screamed, I think he's done it. I think, and he went to say, it is! But as he was saying it, it basically sounded like he said Diddy's or something, right? So obviously with the Diddy trial going on, I've isolated this clip, so next time Anders comes around, I can taunt him with it. But here it is, right? This is what he says, right? So
I think he's done it! I think he did it!
So I've got that now.
I think he's done it! I think he did it!
So that obviously will be a sub noise with a picture of Diddy in the dock. So, it could be dinners. It could be anything. Yeah, send me those memes as well. I guess we can tag this on to the... Probably actually edit this into the PGL Astana review. There was Anders took a picture of me when I was getting my makeup done, which, you know, whatever. It's banter, I suppose. As I shouted at one point in a car because someone held up a video of me dancing in a nightclub while Anders held up a photo of me doing something else, sitting in a bar, and then somebody else had a picture. Is my life just being fucking filmed against my will? Right? Well, evidently it is. This was me. That's the original picture, right? Unbothered, and then they've obviously added that unbothered, moisturized, happy, in my lane, focused, and flourishing. By the way, you can see how just zen and chilled I am, right? Our wonderful makeup artists at PGL that travel with us. It's the same people every time. We love them dearly, you know. And like, obviously, I've got a bald head, haven't I? Not for long. Hair transplant coming, just so the kids can't call me bald anymore. But I've got a bald head, so what you have to do is you have to put powder on the head to stop the shine, and obviously powder on the face to stop the shine. And then you have to lock the powder in place with what she's spraying on me there, which is a fixer. So I've got my eyes closed, getting that done. So anyway, so that was one. Then, obviously, there was a new pope. So they had me as a pope, and you can see I condemn Hooksie, which I didn't do. I did say get him, but they made me the pope. By the way, I can't believe we got an American libtard pope. I'm unbelievably sad. Unbelievably sad. But whatever. Then he did vote Republican until 2016. Now, what happened in 2016, eh? Don't know what this one was about. Don't know what you were going for it. New esports pope declares Falcons. It just says GA there. I guess I declared them to be from the state of Georgia. Now, somebody told me this was me at a dentist, But I'm pretty sure someone also said that it was me at the Dignitas clinic getting put down. So just give me the green drink and let me slip away. So that was a good one. Then, this is my personal favourite. This is the best. They fucking Harkonnened me. They fucking Harkonnened me up big time, right? They fully Baroned me up. This is easily the best one. I was like, actually, when I saw that, I was actually buckled, like, to be fair. So, that is the best. This is one of those ones where it's just, if you know, you know. If you know, you know. Which then, this was a composite. This was in 2 parts. Right? This is a meme. It's the giant chair dude. And then they've implied I'm fat enough to fit in that chair. That's what they've done there. This is weird because they've AI'd me in this one. There was no need to AI me. But this is the hell in this. What's happened to my face? Look at my hands. My hands are fucking massive. What's happened here? Like, why have you AI'd me? Why have you AI'd me like that? We had a CS themed one here. Just chilling during a tech pause. Just bros. This is what years of esports will do to you. That's just me in my cell. Just chilling. Don't know how I feel about this one. I'm just having Faker's dream lunch, apparently. They started to get more and more abstract. This is me as Ben Affleck, I guess. Look like fucking Bill Burr here. So we had that. This is another one of those. If you know, you know. Again, if you know, you know. My post-esports life. Just catching a political funeral. Still more alert than Joe Biden there. I sense this is an El Gapo one. But more Pope-themed one. This one, I'm in the Pope-mobile. Whenever I see anything animated, I know El Gapo did it. This is so stupid. This is Ghoul. This has to be Ghoul who did this. Who's getting the best? Then, like, what? Like, look at the fucking state of this. This. I knew it. Like, I can tell who did it based on the meme quality and the direction of the humor. Like, that's how well I know members of the Rich Chord at this point. And straight away, that's cool. Then we had me in The Matrix. There I am. Just plugged in. This one is actually literally what happens in my life. Because I have heard that one expert advert now. Please. I don't care about anything else. Just please send us a new advert. Please. But I love you. She said she loved you, but I love him. Yeah, I can't do it anymore. I can't listen to it anymore. Like, please. It has to end. Please. So I'm begging. I am begging you, one expert. And then somebody did a Where's Waldo version, right? This is a Where's... Obviously, we're not looking for me, but apparently I'm somewhere there. I have been shopped in, so someone went very, very creative on that one. But yeah, so everyone was having fun, all thanks to Anders. But no one is having as much fun as I am with this.
I think he's done it! I think he did it!
I think he's done it. It's too good. It's too good through that lens, isn't it, really? I think he's done it. I think he diddies. So that will be played over and over and over and over again in these parts. Another gift from Anders B. Loom, male feminist. Yep, that's it. Those are my thoughts on PGL Astana. I had a good time. Can't wait to go back. I never want to see Spirit win another tournament again until they change their fucking interviews. That's the point I'll end on. The Spirit interviews are fucking excruciating, and I feel so sorry for James when he has to do them. It just seems so crazy that every time they do an interview, they just say the most dumb shit, the most dumb antagonistic shit. Like, I don't mind if your answer has 0 calories, but to say something antagonistic is ridiculous. Hey, what have you got to say to all the fans that have been cheering your name? Like, you're donk, right? Like, you know, like there's kids out there that fucking idolize you already. Yeah, I don't care. I don't care. By the way, if somebody like Cadian said that, Reddit would be hounding them for fucking years to come. They would be like, this person can't have a job. They hate the fans. Don't you know the fans have given you everything? It's just pathetic. And then, like, on top of that as well, like, the Magic's answers and stuff, it's just like, oh, my God, just fucking stop. Stop with your anime profile pic. Fucking, you're the main character bullshit. Just fucking stop. Yeah, at least Donk's a kid. You know, the rest of them, what's their fucking excuse, you know? But anyway, it is what it is, unfortunately. Every time Spirit win a trophy, we will be fucking plagued with their shit interviews. So, you live, and you learn.